Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with three S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my lovely co-host. We have
You.
Jojo.
Jojo, it's me.
How are you doing today,
I'm
Jojo?
great. How are you?
I'm doing really well because I'm just happy to see Sequester back on my screens. So if this is your first time to Reality Realness, well then welcome. We are so happy to have you. We are welcoming you with open arms. Would love to have some chats with you in our chats because the interaction with you guys is our favorite part of talking about reality TV incessantly. So the main event here today is Sequester season 4 premiere episode, and it was an hour and a half, and it was a good one. What were your overall thoughts about this episode, Jojo?
Sunday was painful. Like the countdown, I was trying to distract myself. I'm like, 9 o'clock can't come sooner. At 8 o'clock, I was just pacing. It's like, come on, let's get this started. I was
I
reading the live
know.
chat on YouTube. It was even better than I expected. You know, when you kind of get nervous that you might, yes, Super Tan, the premiere was so good.
Hey, the
Yeah.
premiere was so good. It was so good. I think the premiere was better than all of Big Brother All Stars.
No shit. Yes.
Pretty good, but like, you're so right, Super Tan. Thanks for joining us here in the chat. Sorry, I cut you off.
That's okay. You know, when you get so excited about something and then you're worried about getting disappointed, that didn't happen
No,
at all.
I was worried that because because we have teams, so we were kind of rooting for people. Like
Rooting for everyone, if it's official.
But yes, that's the thing. Is like I didn't want anybody to go home. I wanted to see everybody play more, and I think that that's the only one reason why I think that I might have liked a little bit of a bigger cast is there just might have been a few people to go home before we got to like the heart of the people that I wanted to see play. So It's like it's right in the beginning. I'm like, I don't want everyone to go yet. No, I want to see them play a little bit longer, and so that's kind of where, I wish that there was a couple of.
I don't know. I don't mind the smaller cast. We'll get to later on in the episode what a smaller cast entails, but I felt like we really got a good handle on quite a few of the players. There was I think there was 2 or 3 that I'm still like, okay, looking forward to seeing what you can do for sure. But all in all, epic cast. Even the beginning of the show, I thought it was like it was such a powerful history of the minis, plus like explaining the pandemic and what that entails. It was beautiful.
Exactly. Like, it started off with like March 11th, 2020. WHO announces the world pandemic. Like it was part of like a disaster movie.
It was the apocalyptic. Like
I'm like, we are living through a disaster movie right now. Pardon?
It was like an apocalyptic survival of the fittest.
Did you watch that District 9?
Yes, yeah.
It's kind of like, I know, it just feels like whenever I see any news snippets of like March or like what happened before the pandemic began, it's a weird feeling that I get, especially when I know what I was doing. Like I was in Costa Rica, I believe, and we're just like we're all just like on our phones and like listening to what's happening and like what the world's shutting down. We have to leave Costa Rica. I'm like covering my mouth when I'm coughing. People are looking at me. Like,
she's got it.
I'm like, I just like, it's dry in here.
Yeah, pretty much. I started watching Sequester during in March. So for me, it was a very, I don't want to say therapeutic time, but it was something that like distracted me from what was happening in the world. And it was something that I really enjoyed. So I fell in love with Sequester during the initial lockdown, which I thought was.
So just to clarify, I don't know if you know the answer, but so originally the online version of Sequester that Audrey started, that was a week long, but kind of like Sequester mini, but it was just drawn out in a week form or 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact time frame, but it was a longer game of Sequester. So I would assume it would be about a week.
But like the mini in the sense that it would be like those kind of challenges. but spread out, not just on one night kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you kind of get to know people a little bit better. There's such a difference between playing a Sequester mini for 5 hours and playing for a week, and I think we'll definitely see that. I just don't think we have a cast that's going to burn out early.
Oh, there's no time.
No time to burn out.
Super Dan says, I personally prefer larger cast because it's more interesting, but this cast is really amazing with a lot of good players. Yes, like we're just going right for it. Like there's no getting to know you, which it's good. Like, and from in my opinion, like there's pros and cons to that.
Yes.
You know, gameplay starts right away, but then also some people whose strategies are to maybe get to know people and build likability and trust, they don't have the time to do that. So it's kind of, and that would be me, like if I was in there, it would be a challenge for me to get through the first, you know, couple of eliminations, because my strength, I feel, is getting to know people and working that way. So it would be nice to have a few people that can just go that, you know, aren't, you know, in the core. So that's my opinion, but I'm enjoying it. It's good. It's fun. I'm sure that the players are like, like, no, like, I don't have time to, like, I'm on the chocolate block. Like, you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
So I think it's super cool, though, that they had over 1,000 people that were introduced to the Sequester mini community and Sequester in general. I thought that was a really cool stat, because I've watched all the live Sequester games and enjoy it, obviously, because it has like an element of Big Brother and then like some other elements to it. Love social strategy. So it's cool that so many new people have been introduced into the org world that might not even like Big Brother and Survivor. Like they might just be coming into that world through Sequester.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. And I just thought that the whole beginning was really high budget. Like, like it just looked very expensive. And like, I thought it was really well done. And the fact that they turned it out in a few weeks, like I thought that was pretty impressive as well.
I was incredibly impressed with the production value, the editing. Audrey's got a really impressive team behind her and beside her, I should say. And I think the first 90 minutes of the show was really above and beyond what a lot of people might have expected, but it was great.
So the first shot basically is Livonia, Georgia, and the cars. Yes. Like, you know, I don't know how they did this shot, but like, oh, Joseph,
dronage.
Crazy how Sequester Bot said the minis were basically auditions. That's how they got Muna, Jacob, and Katie to join. Very
three
cool.
all-stars.
Very, very cool. And so we might want to just explain like the structure of Sequester. So basically, there's going to be different twists that these players are going to have to adapt to. So, you know, we know in like Survivor and Big Brother, kind of the format, but here it's like, there's going to be a twist for the round that the players are going to have to use strategy and social capabilities to be able to maneuver through this twist. And then there's going to be some sort of vote at the end. So there could be twists within how the vote's going to be happening. There could be twists beforehand and then a vote. And so you never really know exactly what is going to be coming your way. There's no real pattern. There might be certain twists that you've seen before that you might be able to prepare for, but for the most part, they have no idea what is going to be coming up. You're smiling. Why are you smiling?
It's the element of surprise. It is the fear the unknown, but embrace the unknown. We heard a lot of the players in their pre-interviews speak about adapting, and I think Sequester is all about adapting, but also not playing against the twist, playing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Every round is something brand new and eye-opening, and anything can happen.
And one thing
I love
different about how Sequester is played is that there's the battle match at the end.
Right.
So somebody could be voted out, and now they changed it to actually we can talk about it later. But so the battle match at the end, and the person that is actually voted out will get the opportunity to still fight for their spot within the game. Right. And so it's not over, and just because you voted someone out doesn't mean that you're safe from going home, which is also brings up the level of anxiety of like, okay, what moves am I making? If I pick him, he might pick me for the battle max, so maybe I don't want to vote him out. And like, just brings a new layer to strategy.
Yeah.
That I like. So the first car that comes to the mansion, it has Rachel, Muna, Will, and Brent. And so I think Brent talked in the preseason interviews about the fact that, you know, he was in the car with Muna, but he doesn't think that Muna thought that he was going to be playing.
Right.
So how did you like the whole like little introduction there of the four of them and coming out of the car and seeing the house and all that stuff?
I really loved I actually loved the way that the intros were set up. I found that in season was it season 2? Sometimes with people joining the house later on in the evening or early that day, I thought there was a big separation of when people were arriving. So there was more time for some people to get to know one another or build alliances, et cetera, et cetera. I liked that it felt like it was kind of back to back to back. There didn't seem to be big gaps in between meeting folks. Of course, everyone's attracted to Muna right away. Besides being like absolutely gorgeous, there is something inviting about her. So yeah, people would be attracted to her and want to work with her. So I think she showed up with 3 people that might have her back or definitely want to play the game with her. So I think she was definitely set up the best out of the 4. And I loved Brendan's intro music, the shift right away. There was kind of like a circus. It felt like the temperature was changing in the room, and we're getting to know someone else that was going to be a power player. So it was kind of cool to see actually the entire cast, all their intros. But I liked what they did with Brendan, with the circus theme.
I have to say though that I think that Muna is going to be the quote queen of this season because
pass her the crown.
Quote that she says is something like, "Mr. Twitter Fingers is talking about a friend is going to have to walk the walk." And that's like, Mr. Twitter Fingers.
The amount of lines she had during episode 1, like the one-offs, were all so good. She was also the first person to mention winning, which I thought, okay, that's
What do you mean?
She was the first person to bring up winning the game in her intro, or not in her intro, sorry, during a confessional.
Oh, right.
So I did take note of that. I'm not sure if there's going to be some sort of like edit logic. I'm not sure if Sequester is there yet with the way they show the what's happening, but
so you don't know if you're going to be reading into that or if
I read into everything anyway.
Exactly, we all do. What else? Super Tan says Muna may be one of the most powerful Sequester players. Absolutely, I think it's because she's just engaging and
unafraid.
Yeah, she goes for it. She doesn't hedge her bets, and she's not like scared to go and say what she needs to say to somebody. And so that is powerful, but it's also scary. So hopefully, I think that these people can handle it, but it would be a scary kind of position, you know, to have somebody like that that's so influential.
Yeah.
So, but I think that she can maneuver these people. I think that she can outplay them, to be honest. Brendan seems to have his own theme, LOL. Well, he kind of was talking about how he's going to be playing a little bit of like, not surfer dude, but like dumb jockey kind of.
Yeah, very, very, I think it was more airhead, kind of Tyler, Big Brother.
Yoga guy, which is cool. I love yoga.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good strategy to disarm. And so we're kind of looking at Muna being someone that people might be wary of because she's eloquent in her word, commanding in her speech, but also at the same time loving and warm and you think she's your friend. So
yeah, she has intention, which I love.
Yeah, she's definitely scary. So I said Brendan is very happy, but I thought seemed like he was out of his league. In that beginning, I was like, whoa, I think that these people are going to swallow you up and spit you out. That's what I felt. Did you feel that with him or no?
No. No, I think he's there to play the game.
I
1,000%.
was kind of comparing it to Muna's confessional, like how like I was like, yes, Muna, and then his was kind of like, as you're saying, like dum 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 dum.
Yeah.
You know, like, which is, I get it being maybe his character, but it seemed to me as though like with Muna's intensity and intention, that he might, in my eyes, not be as a, you know, powerful player. But this was just my first introduction to him.
Yeah.
Joseph says Muna is somebody that they want to get rid. If they want to get rid of her, they better hope she has no safety that round, or if they do, hit a home run. Brenda is a character for sure. So true. Okay, so Rachel feels that Brent is being a little bit aggressive, kind of with how he talks, and that he's a close talker. I didn't see him being a close talker.
I'm not sure if he could. I think it's because he's so tall.
And I think that
and
because
like kind
he's
of
really commanding with his opinion. So it may have come across as aggressive because he is very focused in his perspective and point of view. He's very determined to get his point across, and maybe that energy, it's too direct, and maybe that's what is coming across as aggressive. You know, what do you feel about that?
I think he's a chatty Cathy, and he's going to. I do think he will get in people's faces, literally. I think that's like there was some hugging happening during the episode, and when you touch someone, there's something different than being a couple feet away from them, socially distant. Brent's not going to play a socially distanced game, and I do think his stature does have something to do with it.
I can imagine that too.
You know, like,
but
someone quite a bit shorter than him,
like has a similar kind of bravado when they present their intention, and so I understand how it can feel aggressive, but I think it's impassioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if somebody's used to maybe people being a little bit more flaky and flippant and a little bit more like wishy-washy with like how they feel about something, someone being as direct and clear as Brent may come across as like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, let's be a little bit more soft here. So,
sure.
But like, I think I can handle it, but I can understand why Rachel might feel that way. But I don't think that it's the right word to describe how he's coming with his thoughts and opinions and stuff.
Sure.
So Brendan suggests a final four, a foursome. So season 4, final 4. I don't think that's going to happen, and neither does Brendan. How do you feel about these 4 people working together?
I'd be happy with that final 4. I mean, that's a great final 4. I don't think you can. I don't know, realistically try and form for the first 5 minutes of the game. I think it might be different when you're playing the mini version and you sort of start a room with people and you're looking at them for an hour beforehand during the tech, and there's some sort of bonding moment there. They could end up as the 4 players that are sitting in the final 4, but I don't know if that's each of their intentions right now, before seeing the rest of the cast, especially.
Mm-hmm. So next we were introduced to Shireen, sorry.
Yeah.
And she was pretty impressive. Like we kind of hear about her a little bit more every time she cuts on our screen. But the fact that she's like been at like Google and Yahoo like in the beginning phases, and she created, I think she said, the calendar for Google.
Yeah.
Say what? Like, I don't really think that somebody does that. I think it just shows up.
It happens.
Like, how does it?
We have her to thank.
And so the fact that she's involved in different startups and that she's now gone into poker, I think she'd be a good poker player.
Yep.
And enjoy it as well. And, you know, I'm interested to see how Shireen plays, because I remember when she was on her first season of Survivor that I wanted her to do better, but it just wasn't really working in her favor with the people she was playing. And I don't remember her second time that she came out. So I really do want to see what she can do, because I did have faith in her in the first season, and obviously I love gamers. So how did you feel about our introduction to Shireen?
I really fell for her during the Sequester mini, the Survivor International version. I thought she was incredibly entertaining. And then there was I saw her in the Middle Eastern mini, and I was really impressed. But there was a Sequester event, which was like a friendship sharing is caring big old Zoom call, and I remember hearing her speak there, and I was kind of blown away. Actually, I didn't. That was my first real time, like, not meeting her, but watching her interact with a big group of people and expressing how she felt. And I don't think Survivor gave her, not that they gave her bad edits, but I don't think they gave her enough credit for who she is, what she can do. And I think she's going to kick some ass this year. I was really, or not this year, during this season, I was really impressed with um, her one-on-ones with people, the fact that she went in with a plan. I wouldn't sleep on her. I think she's gonna blow us away, because the first episode I was incredibly impressed.
So the next character we kind of get introduced to is Josh. Did I skip a page? Because like I don't remember them. They didn't come out of the car, right? They just had them in the house. Like I don't remember seeing Josh Shireen come out of the car. But Brent is worried about Josh because he's not very well connected. How did you feel about how Josh kind of introduced himself to everybody that was playing?
I mean, I had this with Josh all episode. Initially I thought like, oh, easy first boot. Sorry, Josh. I hope that doesn't offend you. But I think everyone kind of did that was watching, which was nice. Such a nice surprise that it did fluctuate. And I think he's an incredibly smart player. I think he will fight. I do think he might have been one of the least connected players going in, but he got some one-on-one time with the right people and totally unafraid, which is my type of player to watch and fall for.
Well, now, like I appreciate Josh's gameplay. I think that he could have maybe just held back just a little bit, just to not make himself a target just immediately, especially because he's already not as connected as some other people. But we'll probably talk a little bit more about him because this episode was pretty much all about him. So group 3 is Jay West, Spencer, and Billy CEO.
Oh, I think Jacob arrived too.
Who?
Earlier with
I didn't write it down, so sorry.
It's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think it was Shireen. Oh no, maybe it wasn't.
Well, I don't think that they showed car number 2. I think that
I'll do a rewatch after this anyway.
But Joseph, help us.
Help Joseph, quick.
So group 3, anyways, is Jay West, Spencer, and Billy CEO. Yeah, because Katie's here too in my notes, and so maybe they didn't.
I think it was Natalie. Was there 4 groups then? We're so bad because we're still missing Natalie.
This format, because like I know how to take notes from Big Brother, Survivor. You got to know what the format's going to be. But this was the introduction, so like I'm watching, but I'm taking notes, and it's a work in progress here.
I was taking very little notes because I was so into it. I'm like, I'm not moving to my pen and paper right now.
Anyways, I'm just going to go by what the notes that I say. I wrote down a lot of pages. So if it's out of order or whatnot, we will talk about everybody. Hopefully it was 445. Right. Perfect. So the second card though, we didn't see. I guess. I don't remember seeing the second card get out, but maybe I do remember.
They could have parachuted in. There's just parachutes of like players.
I love you, Phil. Phil and Joseph for president. Okay, anyways, Katie panics when she sees Spencer. Okay, that must have been outside.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
She played with Spencer before, and she voted him out, and she won that particular game. So she panics, but then later on, they kind of talk about like how the fact that like
we're on Zoom calls together every night, so we're
okay. Let's Natalie.
Thanks, Joseph. Yes.
Shireen, Jacob, and Josh were in car number 2. Okay, perfect. But they didn't actually show them coming out of the car, correct, Joseph? And I think the silence means that we are correct.
Sure.
So Katie was panicking when she sees Spencer because she voted him out. We also meet Marcelo. Doesn't know that Jay West is here. What am I talking about here? And the last 5 in what they don't want to be the last 5 out. So the last 5 was Katie with
Spencer, Jay West.
Correct. Spencer, Billy CEO, and who's the 5th?
Billy. Marcella?
Marcella, yes. We got this, man. We got this. We're going to be so
13 is so difficult for us to keep all, like, we're struggling.
Well, we didn't see the I don't know.
Did they or didn't they? Were they already there? They spent a night there together beforehand?
No.
Card number 2?
They didn't.
No, you're right.
Who knows? So Jacob has a good relationship for good relationships. I found that, like, you know, I could see why he won. You know, for how he just interacts with everybody, just right off the bat, he's just likable.
Who? Sorry?
Jacob.
Oh my God, obsessed. Yes.
He's just likable. He looks good. He has a couple good lines that we'll bring up maybe a little bit later. And so his relationship with Muna is kind of what he was talking about the most. Is that
Muna started out that way. The editing
was a little bit. It's deeper than just like Sequester and whatever. Like they have a friendship. And then he was also talking about Marcelo and his relationship was deeper.
Well, that was such a beautiful setup because you have Muna and Jacob talking about like the relationship outside of Sequester and like in and out of. And then Jacob's like, yeah, like I'm so happy to have my ride or die here, and my ride or die is Marcelo, and that was opening with him and Marcelo. It was beautifully done.
I was shocked. Joseph says Spencer and Katie are trying to act like they are cool, but I think that there's some history. Katie got rid of Spencer back in June 6th, the mini she won. Final 2 was her versus Emily Lemieux. I don't know who Emily is, but yeah, like I think that it's in their best interest to work together, but I feel like I can see him being like, I'll keep her close, but I'd be willing to cut her, is how I think that Spencer would probably play it.
Yeah, I was a little confused because initially I think they were both worried and they weren't. And it's like, like I'm sure that cast is really close still, and they're 2 people that would be on Zoom together quite a bit. So I don't know what either of them are really too worried about initially.
We get introduced to Billy CEO, who I'm loving her confessionals.
Incredible.
So what do you think of how she gauges players being, whether they're lying or being truthful and honest with her? Shaky eyes.
The shaky eyes.
Shaky eye test. Would you pass the shaky eye test when you're playing these games?
I assume so. I don't know. Yeah, I make eye contact with people that I talk to, so yeah. I think Billy was another one, like great character for the show, but is going to is there playing the game already.
Yes.
Like she impressed me this episode.
Super 10 says nobody really seems to trust Katie. I think she might be in trouble here.
I mean, honestly, the fact that you didn't vote Katie out first, like you're crazy. I'm sorry, but if there was an opportunity to, and I love that girl, I would just think that it would be in anyone's best interest not to have someone with that much power around.
Hi, Will. Nice to meet you. So Will says that Jacob, Muna, and Marcelo are going to dominate. Yeah, absolutely. But the one thing, though, I am worried that Marcelo, I feel like he likes to make that flashy move. And even says he's even a self-proclaimed sneaky player.
The amount of snake, like the rattle. I loved every second. It was very Drag Race.
For that rattle.
Yeah, it was very Drag Race.
And so I worry with him kind of wanting to always make a flashy move that it might flashy move him out of the game. But I do think that if they work together well, and if maybe Jacob keeps him a little bit on a short leash, that I agree with the dominating. But Marcelo is a little bit of a wild card, loose cannon in how he plays so far. What I've seen, that he could be. I can see him messing something up. They are the best players and they are teamed up. Yes, I know. I mean, I agree with why you're saying this, Will. Absolutely. And yes, I actually, your opinion, valid, but I could see Marcelo screwing it up.
I'm gonna have a hard time like hypothesizing this season because I think anything can happen any episode. I won't be surprised with the caliber of players that we have.
You're gonna have to like...
I can't. I'm not gonna. That's gonna be really hard for me to do unless we see like some real pattern happening.
The pattern in my head is I can see that he likes to make big moves, and I can see him doing it independently of his alliance. If that makes sense. And I can see that it backfires. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's going to be good TV no matter what.
Yes.
They're all really good TV. So Muna wants to work with Jacob, obviously. And I think she was the one that said it. I saw you and it felt like home. I think it's probably because they both became really popular within the Sequester community. And so then they're all both people of color. And so then they're both winners. And so I can understand her feeling like home and being like, yes, thank goodness I have someone that I can just trust on like a person-to-person level, which is that's a really strong thing to have in any of these social strategy games, is having someone that you can trust. Super Dan says, yep, Jacob is set up really well. Yeah, I think he's set up the best personally. That's what I'm feeling so far. Yes, I love the moment when they were tearing up, seeing each other. I thought it was really beautiful. And Muna says that she is the only person that's probably crazy enough to sit beside Jacob Jones.
Yeah.
I like that.
Love it.
I see. We're talking about this online reality game that I'm playing right now, and they're not really honoring how I'm playing this game. But the fact that she's saying that, like, that would be considered emotional, that she would want to maybe take somebody that wasn't for her best interest to the end of the game. You know what I mean?
I mean, I disagree with it in that sense, only because I think it's not emotional. It's the fact that Muna is capable of facing off against someone like Jacob.
Well, okay, sorry. Maybe
the
word emotional, but the fact that it might not be in her best interest.
Sure, going to the end with someone that's not liked or didn't really play the game or play the game well might be ideal for some people, but I think Muna's the type of person that's kind of cool with going, okay, so we're the best two here. Let's kick some ass.
And that's kind of how I feel about it as well. Like, sometimes you want to bring the person that you want to sit beside, and would like seeing win over you getting that victory yourself. And so I really appreciate that quality in her, that she's not going to, I don't feel, stab him in the back for her to get the win. And I like that quality within her. So that's kind of where I'm getting at here. Joseph says, also Muna, Jacob, and Katie are all chief correspondents at Podquester, the official after show of Sequester. I know Jacob is also part of Rob as a Podcast class of 2020. Correct. I haven't watched all the correspondent videos yet because I just didn't want to have any of their opinions influence what I was going to be saying about this. And so we also will figure out when do we think the best time for us to do our little because there are quite a few different people that are covering it even right after the episode airs. So I'm not sure if it's the best time. Joseph, what do you think?
I think, I'm going to speak on behalf of Joseph. I think Audrey should just send us the episode early and we can just, do a little watch along, but already know what's happening. So,
I mean, I would love that because
not going to happen, but it would be great.
Not at all. No way.
Not written in the stars.
And this is where Jacob Jones says that Marcelo is his number one, even after having that moment with Muna. I was like,
oh, good.
What?
Loved every second of it.
I was shocked though, because I didn't know. I mean, I am involved in the Sequester community a little bit, but I just don't know all the history of all like the weaving in and out and friendships and who's friends outside of it or whatnot. I just kind of see a lot of Twitter streams and I watched like 10 or 15 games. So I don't know that. But I was happy to see that because I do think that Marcelo needs a little bit of a wrangler, as I'm saying. And so I think that Jacob would be the best duo. Like, you know, one's flashy and one's like kind of calm, reserved, and in control, I think. So Will asks us, you versus Jojo in that puzzle, who wins?
That's tough.
Probably me.
You think?
I mean, I'm good at puzzles.
Me too, though. I think I don't know. I don't know. I'll give it to you, sure.
No, I mean, if you think you can.
I think with that puzzle in particular, I don't know. I know you have done one before though with like the wooden pieces, so you do have maybe you're a little bit more experienced than I am, so maybe you have the. Didn't you do one with the live action Survivor?
Oh, but they're smaller. They weren't as big. There was a small version, and the puzzle that I did was the up the snake with the ball on this up the snake.
Oh, right, yeah.
That one, and then I did a couple of maze ones, like table mazes.
I mean, I think Jay, for the puzzle, going to the puzzle for a minute, I think Jay West was really smart taking as many pieces as possible at the same time and not just pivoting like Josh was. And even looking back at the Sequester bot mask, like you do have a guide there. I don't think you needed to stand. Oh, maybe you did have to stand where they were standing, because I probably would have tried to like switch sides of the table.
This is a good point. Super San says I'm good at puzzles, but I hate those two sides of puzzles. They're so difficult. Yeah, they are a little more difficult because you think that you have it in the right spot, but it could actually be on the flip side. I think that you'd have a one up on me on speed. I think your speed might trump my puzzling, and so that's where I might fall short.
I would probably never battle match you though. So
you better not.
You better.
Me. Maybe. So I was like, oh boy, Josh is already looking for an LOS. Why is he already trying to make himself a target when he's already a target? Or like an outsider in the fact that like he doesn't know as many people as everybody. I'm like, Josh, at least make it look a little slick. Or maybe say to the whole group, like, hey, like, we're here. Why don't we start looking
it was a little sus.
Yeah. Like,
even Katie,
I'm just going to check out upstairs. Rummage.
Crash, smash, kaboom.
It was not good because doing things like that, especially in the very beginning when you're getting to know each other, it makes you already an easy target. You know, anybody that's not within the group is outside of the group, which makes it be like, okay, let's target that person. And I feel as though in the beginning of these games, you have to try to not become a target for whatever reason so that you could start making friendships and connections so you can start steering the game appropriately.
Yeah.
So I think he just did that too soon when he should have been taking that time to make deep connections.
Yeah. But I'm not mad at it. Like, It was great for the episode. Josh really impressed me this episode.
So the LOS is the locus of safety, but they're changing things up. So do you think it's not being hidden right now and people are and Josh is just rummaging for no reason?
I don't know. I would wait for instructions from Sequesterbot before I started like rummaging around looking for something.
But in the previous seasons, they were always just hidden already. So why would you think it would be any different?
Because it's season 4. Actually, I do think that they're going to take the LOS and turn it into something else. Maybe.
One thing that Katie recognized is that there's a lot of other threats in the game. And, you know, we watched Big Brother All-Stars, and that was the opposite experience that Janelle had when she came in there. She's like, oh, she wished there was more big threats in the game. So I feel as though Katie was in a pretty good position to be able to fade back a little bit. But she didn't really take that opportunity because she definitely started, I feel, pushing her agenda a little bit too soon. What do you think about? I know you're gonna be like, "Oh, everything she does is perfect," and like it's really good for the episode. But like,
I don't think anyone's
opinion.
I don't think anyone's playing perfect right now. But I think you need to look around at who you're speaking with freely. Initially, I think if she might have been around a solid trio, like she had mentioned in her pre-interviews that she wanted to work with, maybe 2 or 3 people. That way you can also know, okay, if what I'm saying is leaking, who's the source? if you're saying to a group of 6 or 7 people, like, I think this person should go home, you're not really gonna know unless someone straight up tells you who the source was ratting you out.
Mm-hmm.
No one's gonna tell on Billy. Josh isn't gonna tell Billy that, or tell Katie that Billy's the one that said.
And I think this is a learning curve as well for Katie right now, because in Sequester, like, the rounds are pretty short. You can throw out a name, it can get traction, that person can go out really quickly. And so I think that she's learning now that if you throw out a name, it could get traction, but it also could backfire, because there's a lot more time for people to cross-reference to see whether or not this is best for their game plan, for that person to hear that it's the plan, to try to retaliate. And so I think that she's maneuvering also and learning how to maneuver this live format that is unfamiliar to her. And it's very interesting to see her watch, because hopefully she is a good enough player that she's going to be able to adapt and be like, oh, I can't play this like Sequester mini. I had to play this like this particular game, which she might not be unfamiliar with.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a learning curve for all of them, really. I mean, well, most of them, I should say. No, everyone. Yes, I'm going to say everyone, like I did initially. Live action's different than online, right? So I think we're going to see brand new stuff happening, and players that are big threats online might not be the most confident at this point, or might get taken down a couple of pegs. I don't think it was bad of Katie to give a solid reason why Josh should be the target. But being such a threat coming in, do you want to be the first person to put out a name?
Well, we know from
people would have gotten to Josh.
And even playing in live versions ourselves, that a lot of the times you want to make it seem as though it's the other person's idea. And so that is where I think that she fell a little bit short in how she was. I know she felt as though everybody was just on that same page and be like, okay, I'll just do that, like the same page. But sometimes looking like the person that's steering the ship is going to have to go down with it. And so it would have been, she didn't need to push that agenda if everyone was already kind of on that same page. You know what I mean? Which I think would have been better for her to not just come out now with, now they're going to actually have a rivalry is going to be end up happening between her and Josh. That's just going to make her this big target, because the more that now she's going to try to save herself, the more she's going to become looking like more of a bigger target. And go ahead.
Yes, but at the same time, every episode I do feel like can change so fast. I do think a new round kind of presses reset, and I think Josh and Katie are both smart enough to know that them working together might not be seen by other players, and they might not expect that. So
hopefully, but
we don't know.
Sometimes having like an easy target is...
I'm getting excited already talking about it.
So Phil says, I don't think that Josh had much of a chance to fit in, though, in truth. A lot of these people have pre-game connections, and the vibe I'm getting is that they're sticking with who they know, at least to start. Absolutely. And so that's kind of, it's just echoing why I like just a little bit bigger of a cast, is that there might be some people that may leave the game, just allow these connections to somebody like Josh, who doesn't really know that many people, just to make stronger bonds and not become an easy vote out. So, you know, I would be hesitant if I had gone into this house and like I was playing with these people that I've never, like, they all have these connections and I didn't know anybody. I'd be like, oh my God, like panic mode. Like, I need to make connections with these people quick before I'm like the easy boot. And so I know that that's the panic that he's probably having. So just having maybe a little bit more people might have allowed him to be one of a few people that were on the outs, you know? You know, so Joseph says, plus Katie was too paranoid when Josh was playing the game and looking for the LOS, not knowing that they change it up. How you can get safety? What was he supposed to do? Just accept that he was going home? Absolutely not. I do not like behoove him for like trying to save himself, since he already felt and so he was an outsider. I just thought that he could have been a little bit more tactful. And I think that Katie should have been a little bit more, you know, like if you want to take somebody out, you don't want them to know that they're the target, because they're going to definitely fight back, especially with such a small cast and with people that all want to come to play. So blunders on both ends. I think bigger blunder on Katie, because I don't think that she was in a bad position before it became between her and Josh?
I don't know. I think there were some people that were perfectly fine with Katie saying Josh, and then there were other people who were saying let's do Katie. So I think,
And I
I
think
think she was in a tough position regardless.
like the round would have been over, and Josh would have been gone in Sequester.
Yeah, and done. Wipe hands clean, peace.
So I think this time is she's learning that she can't play the same way, which is it's very cool to see people adapt. So second soundbite that I've note that Muna had was she's like Muna and her Oprah of alliances, like you get an alliance and you get an alliance and you get an alliance. Everybody gets an alliance, which I thought was cute and funny. But she's just saying yes, everybody, which is what you are meant to do. Because if you say no, that means that you are against them. Like whether you are or you're not, that's how it feels to the other person. So you got to say yes. But it's really great that everybody's inviting her into an alliance because, I want her to be protected. I want her to do well.
Yeah, I just want Sunday to happen. I just want to see Sunday.
Phil says, side note, I need to check out Josh's ancestry tree. He could be related to me. Really?
That's news.
Or because of how you play?
The ginge.
Why do you like actually? Or you like? I know you said LOL, but like, is it the red hair or how you play?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're in a big group. It was Katie, Jay West, Brent, Muna, Marcelo, and Jacob, and they are pretty much the most flashy of a target, the biggest threats from the Sequester community. And so Jay West throws out, like, let's make this the 6. What do you think about the 6 coming together? Do you think that?
I mean,
face-wise, you think you look like Josh? I wonder if you're related then. I'm going to have to put a side-by-side of you guys up.
Yeah, we'll get some swabs. Do our little test under a microscope. I think, I don't know. I think Jay West might have just been in the moment, saying things, but he needs to like watch what he says at the same time. You can't start a 6 with people and then start targeting them the next day.
Same hour, same day.
Same.
I can't tell
Who knows?
Actually.
Yeah, I obviously don't think that 6 was a true, strong, bonded alliance.
I do feel as though it would have been beneficial for them to maybe stick
sure,
a little
of
bit.
course, especially with the first round of what the round is, the first twist.
So Katie wants to work with Jacob, which is great, and Muna out of the 6. So she wants that to be a strong trio, which I think is smart for her to line up with the people that are most likable, that probably has the most influence with people in the house.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a strong 2 people for her to align with, and very good foresight to see that they're probably the best 2 people for her to align with right now. Most powerful, I feel. We hear a doorbell, and Muna goes and opens up the door, and they get a message to head to the barn. Out the barn, we have Junior and Fembot, and Shireen goes up and reads a message. And it basically says it's going to be 13 people, 7 days, $2,500. That's going to be sponsored by
Warehab.
And so Warehab is help for people that have gone through some sort of addiction and rehabilitation into, I guess, their life again. So Brent feels this is kind of synchronistic, that the prize money is something about rehab because he has been in, he's been battling addiction from 15 years ago, and every day is a new day. And so he's been in recovery for 15 years and feels as though, hey, man, I've been in recovery for 15 years. This $2,500, I deserve it, which is
my
true.
Pocket. Yeah.
It's true.
Absolutely.
And I love having money on the line because it does up the stakes a little bit.
Yep.
Give me the money.
That cash dollar.
Is there anybody here that's Canadian? There's nobody Canadian on this cast, huh? I guess we couldn't fly in.
Well, I mean, borders closed, unfortunately. No Canadians. But I do love that it's a full jury. So it will be an 11-person jury. Unless there's a final 3, I doubt it, but who knows? And I like the twist of the reveal of the 3 votes. You get to choose who, because that does factor in later on, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So beforehand, it used to be that
all votes were revealed.
Game, if somebody voted for the person that was eliminated, they would have to stand up and they could choose out of anybody who was going to be battling them in the battle match.
Yep.
And so now it's changed that the person that has been eliminated gets to see the votes be revealed of 3 players of their choice, which I think brings in a little bit more strategy here, because I'm like, well, let's see what you have done, and I think it makes you can't just lie anymore or throw a vote anymore. Like, you kind of have to be true to your word and use that as part of your strategy, which is great. So you have to reveal your vote, 1 of 3 people, or 3 people, to the person that's eliminated. I think it's a good twist. What do you think about this as a change? You like it?
Love it. Yeah, I love it.
You love it.
I love everything.
Back for becoming a subscriber. So what else did they say? 15 years. It's going to be testing them mentally, physically, socially, and emotionally. And second place gets nothing. I kind of want second place to get something sometimes.
They're going to get hugs and kisses from the rest of the jury.
They're going to get
from the winner.
Regret and shame. Something like $100, you know?
Yeah. Sorry.
All or nothing is here. So, but everyone will make the jury, as you said, which I think is a good twist. I mean, 13 is a number that, with 2 people sitting in the final 2, 11 players being in the jury, a little bit big, yes, but like, it's still good in this new game because it allows everybody to really get to know each other, at least to be good jurors and be able to vote for the right person.
Well, I mean, you're also getting to see people's games from day 1 onwards and judging on those days. So if you're the second person voted out and your experience with one of the people in the final 2 was great, they might get your vote, or the other person might be able to sell themselves a little better.
Absolutely.
So,
and it's not so far away that, like, you know, you don't know what's going on. So yeah. I think it works really well for this tighter cast that everybody's part of the jury. The competition for this episode is safety and exile. So basically, it's a chain. So the first person drawn by random, who Marcelo seems to have the power of persuasion for the pick, because his name was picked out first, but the first person picked up is going to be safe. And they are going to be choosing the next person who's going to be exiled.
Yes.
So that's going to continue back and forth until the final. How did that work?
I think there was 7 people up for elimination.
And then but the last 3 people went into eliminate.
Final 4, the last person exiled gets to choose 1 person to be safe, and the other 2 people join them in exile.
Right. And so this game is great because you have to strategize in a way that is just completely different. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me, please, if I'm wrong, that the people in exile will be choosing amongst themselves as to who is going to be eliminated. Is that
correct? Yeah. Yes.
So
the only people voting as well.
Correct. So you definitely want to have safety. Yeah. Or if you're in exile, you want to be in exile with people that want to
have your back. Yes.
So it's all very, very scary. What are you gonna say?
I did I've taken part in this twist before for the big private Winners of War. It was the very first round, 8 players in each room, and the difference was the second round that the people that were chosen for safety were voting next. So out of their group. So that was kind of the twist on safety and exile. It can be hard to maneuver, but I think once the ball gets rolling, I had safety, someone was chosen, that exiled person chose me for safety. So I was really lucky to get in on it early. I think if you're in on it early, you can kind of step back and kind of let shit happen around you if you want, if you choose to do that. And I think that can be also a smarter thing to do, especially if you're in safety and you don't really have much of an investment in who goes home first.
Well, I mean, unless, yeah, if you don't, but if you do, like, you probably want to have your hand in that cookie jar.
Cookie jar.
So Super Saiyan says that I love the twist this first round. Me too. I thought it was a great first twist because it wasn't too messy and complicated, and people not understanding the rules and what, like, it was very clean with like the understanding of it. It's either like you're safe or
you're not. Yeah.
So
pretty much.
I thought it was perfect just to get them introduced to the style of gameplay Sequester live action is going to be. So Marcelo, though, like, remember when people were just started running towards him? Like, I felt like it was like kind of like zombies, and like he's just like, yeah, he got the safety first, and then like people just like, Marcelo, good job, guy, like
coming for you.
Poor guy. But I'm sure he was very happy to at least be in that position just to start the chain off right. And then, as you're saying, he doesn't necessarily need to be that invested in what happens later down the chain. He just has to make that one decision. So lucky him. Josh wants to work with Shireen, and he kind of makes an emotional plea to her. And it did. I didn't think it was going to work, but it did work with Shireen. Yeah. And, Shireen
gave him a heads up.
And something that put something in the vault that he can't say anything. So I'm worried about him not necessarily being the person that you could say keep it in the vault, because I think that he might spill things just from what I've seen of him so far, but he didn't. So that was that. From what we saw, he did not spill what Shireen had said, but she kind of told him that because he was looking for the LOS, that people are looking at him as being the target. But if she gets, I think, did she say to him, if she gets safety, she wasn't going to exile him, or what did she say?
Well, I think they were all under the assumption that Josh was going to be exiled first, but I think she said to him that she would push for him not to go home if she could. That I think that was also the first time that I thought, God, she's good. Well, not the first time, but she has a grasp of what's happening in the house, about other players, and was open enough to give him a heads up and kind of put her neck out on the line. And that does, like, you build a rapport doing things like that. So
for sure. But she was right. Marcelo does choose for Josh to be the first person exiled.
Yeah.
And Josh thinks this is a weak move. What do you think about this as a move on Marcelo's part?
I think it was probably the best move he could make at that time.
Me too. It's kind of like, yeah, you want to take up big players, but like,
it's so fresh, and he was given a reason. It's like, your LOS searching was kind of shady, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that they can't become buddies or work together in the future, but that is a specific reason that can be given. So even if it's a crapshoot, or even if it's a shitty move, it's still actually a decent move when you're looking around at 11 other players.
Exactly. And you don't necessarily want them to be mad at you after. Like, you kind of, every effort that you do, you want to see what the repercussions are going to be. And
there's so much more to come.
Exactly. So Josh goes on an alliance tour and is kind of talking to everybody. He kind of settles in on Billy, and Billy tells Josh that Katie's been throwing her name out there.
Loved
it. What?
I loved it.
Right?
Yeah, Billy, good for you.
And like you're saying, though, she's making good friendships with Josh by telling him important information that she does not need to tell him, that he in turn decides to repay her basically that favor by giving her the next part of the safety chain. And so she's safe now. So do you think that, go ahead.
I think that might have been an opportunity for him to, I think if he had let her know that he was choosing her, that they could have come up with a plan together about who she should exile next. So I don't love that he left her out in the dark about the fact that she was getting it. I do think she was surprised by that, but maybe he wanted to keep his options open until the round was over.
Yeah, like I think because he was going around and talking to all of these different, like making kind of not final twos, but like trying to make some bonds with some people so that if they end up in exile, that maybe that they'd vote to keep him. I think that he didn't want to say that he already made his mind up as to who he was giving the. I think he wanted to just use that still as a bargaining tool when he's going around talking to people. So he wouldn't be lying to their face, basically. So I think that's why he probably didn't tell Billy that he was going to get it, so he could still be talking to people before he makes that actual decision.
That's fair, yeah.
I think so. Josh does choose Billy to be the next person in the safety chain. And Billy, when she was talking to Josh, said that she hasn't talked to Jay West or Natalie.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of the game. Why aren't people talking to everybody?
I don't know.
What's happening?
I think you can find a minute with somebody to say something, but at the same time, maybe you want the option to put someone in exile, and that's a good reason. Billy had 2 people that she could choose between initially, and instead of having a tough decision like other people did later on and maybe making a bit of an enemy, you can just say like, well, I haven't really spoken to you yet, and shit changes, shit happens, bonds grow, but right now we don't got nothing, so I'm gonna put your butt in exile.
And Jay West, though, this is where I had higher hopes, we'll say, with him maybe learning from his past seasons. Who's calling me?
How dare they?
Rude.
Ignore.
He says that he wants weak people in exile and wants to return from exile. So he wants it to be a big power move that he goes to exile and then returns. And I was like, I understand that he probably wants to make a big move and he thinks that like that would be winning. Be like, yes, I put myself in there and I came back. Like I'm so strong and people can be afraid of me. But in the very beginning of the game, I think that you want to just avoid exile so you can get a bit of a footing in the game. And so that was the first time where I realized like, maybe he hasn't learned from his past gaming mistakes. What do you think about his aggressive kind of play towards being put into exile because he's confident enough that he knows he's going to come back?
I don't think there's anything wrong with playing aggressive, excuse me. But I do think that as a returning player, I don't think he learned the first time what he should be bringing differently to this game. I know that he said that he really wanted to play a more social game. Well, you literally went to exile for not being social enough with a person that had safety. So in that sense, what have you learned? Yeah, you don't want to go to exile, but if there's a reason for you to end up there, that's when you pivot and find a reason to keep you or to target somebody else.
Joseph says, I wonder if they were stalling at times because the clock said that they had 5 minutes before they were due to make their decision. I've seen in most minis decisions were made in 20 to 30 seconds tops. Exactly. Like I think that all these players that haven't done the live version yet, the time is definitely shifting for them. Like they don't usually have as much time.
Jay West has played it in a mini. He has done minis.
I know, I get that, but I think that he hasn't learned how to work with the people yet. Like I just thought he would have learned a little bit more, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's not like I think people go in saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this and this and this," and then once the pressure's on, you don't always think clearly.
I get that. I mean, who knows how I would play in a live version? Like no, I know how I'd play, but
Yeah, you do.
But I do wish that he just had learned a little bit to not make himself make the easy way out. Just like don't say to everybody that you're okay with going to exile.
Yeah,
like
you shouldn't be.
They'll put you in exile.
God no.
Like don't say like I'm not afraid, put me in. Like you might not be afraid and you might want to be put in, but people will take you up on that offer.
Yes.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Jay West, you're on my team. So he is the next person that Billy gives exile to. And Muna and Jacob come up with a plan now to go to Jay West to say that she heard that he was throwing out her name and that she really wanted to work with him.
Which he was.
Pardon?
Which he was.
which he was. But nice of them for them to suss out that might have been a good ploy as to, maybe go in and talk to him. And she's just like, basically like, well, like, what am I, if you don't give me safety, like, I'm going to feel like you're against me here. And like, I don't want you to have you as an enemy, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
which I thought was an interesting tactic. I know we were watching the TV show. I could call her bluff a little bit, like from watching the outwardly, but I don't think that he caught it. But it's probably because I knew that she was kind of bluffing a little bit.
Yeah, I think in the moment, I don't know, if Muna's looking me dead in the eye and asking me to do something, I probably will do it. Like, all right, yes.
Another amazing soundbite of hers is like, you better look both left and right. You're crossing the road with me.
My hand out.
So good.
So good.
Hi, Dana. Thank you for subscribing and joining the chat. So how long does Sequester film for? I think they said in the premiere episode how long they filmed for at the house. I believe it's 7 days. 7 days. I don't know if they came, like they stayed a day before, a day after. But I think 7 days of filming for the entire episode is what I gather is the time frame. Brent doesn't want to go to Exile, obviously, and so he's telling us Muna, like, he can't go to Exile. I mean, he might have wanted to just take it down a little bit,
I was okay with it. I'm always going to support Brent being like 100% genuine. I think that's what we get from him. Even if he's being sneaky or lying to people, whatever, it does come off as genuine when he's speaking to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if he's panicked or worried, yeah, like, use that for sure. He should not want to go to Exile at all.
No way. And
especially him, no.
And a lot of people are kind of like giving him flack for not wanting to go to Exile and like, oh, you're playing a scared game. And like, but he's also a person that when he looks at the gameplay of people, that if the winning move is to not go to Exile, that is the winning move. It's maybe it'll be the flashy move, and he loves the flash, and he loves like exciting moves in gameplay. But he usually likes exciting moves in gameplay that is going to benefit the player moving forward.
Right.
So
nothing about what happens had like benefited him.
No, it's not a good move for him to be put in there because who opens next?
So basically, Shireen decided.
Yeah, so Jay West chooses Shireen, which I was surprised about that choice.
Well, I think they did bond, and he wanted to keep her safe genuinely, and that's awesome. Great move by her. And she didn't really have a connection with Katie. She had mentioned that earlier, seeing her as a threat. They didn't really have any sparks initially. So, and Jay West wanted Katie in the Exile with him. So that's kind of what got the ball rolling. And I think it kept
Shireen, if I'm not mistaken, that he wanted her to put Katie in Exile.
Right. Yes.
So that's what Shireen ends up doing, is putting Katie in Exile.
And that did, in my opinion, keep her hands clean, in the sense that she was pretty upfront with, you're going there because I got safety to put you there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jay West kind of took the heat on that one. Even with Katie's like pleas and her pitches, like, they didn't work. And Shireen came out of it pretty in the clear, in my opinion.
I totally agree. So Katie, though, ends up getting put into Exile, and she chooses Brendan as the person that is safe. So Brendan is telling Brent that he wants to put him up. And this is where Brent was having a little bit of a pushback. And it's kind of like, why would anybody want to go to Exile? They're here to play for money.
I think it's because Brent's... did he say that he was okay with it at one point, or no? Or he said that if I am there, I will vote with you.
Exactly.
So giving that pitch is an opening, in my opinion, to, well, why don't we put you there?
Well, yes, I think he was playing to Katie, being like, yeah, we need to stick together. Like, we need to have all your people in Exile, but like, he also doesn't want to be in Exile.
But wouldn't you be more afraid of being in a battle match with Spencer, Brandon, Katie in Exile with you than Brent, who did have a connection with Josh in the first couple of minutes of the episode, Yeah, it did. That didn't make too much sense to me for Katie to choose Brendan to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
I think ideally she would want Brendan and Spencer at the battle match with her,
Exactly.
or as people to battle.
I'm not sure fully why she did that there, but Brent is really hoping that Brendan will not choose him to go to the battle or to Exile. And so Brent is telling Muna that she's scared, basically, that Brendan's going to do this, and so this is giving Muna ammunition to get Brent in Exile, because Brent basically says that if he goes, he's going to give it to Muna. So I think he did offer up too much information there. It's kind of like if you say to somebody like, "Oh, like I'm going to vote for you no matter what." I'm like, "Perfect. I'm going to put you in the jury then."
Yeah.
Or, like, I'll give you my legacy advantage if if I ever get
If I'm voted out.
Oh, let's vote you out so I can have that legacy advantage. So I do feel like he offered up some information to Muna to make him more of a desirable person to vote to Exile. And she used that to her advantage, and she kind of just a little pushed that over a little bit, Brent being that person that got the Exile pennant. Like, I don't know, what did they give them? What were they giving them? Was it a blindfold?
Yeah. They that was like nap time. They're all just put down.
Oh my God, I was so laughing though when Spencer was rallying the votes and all this stuff. Like, did you hear the music? It was all like triumphant,
Yeah.
inspirational, and he was just like leading the people.
Let's do this. Yeah.
We see Muna also telling Jacob and Marcelo, so we do see that this is probably the powerful trio that we've been kind of noticing already, that they are working together and coming together with information and bringing information back to each other. So I like seeing that, because I like seeing alliances that work well, that strategize. That's what's interesting to me. So I'm happy that they did that, or started to do that anyways. Now, why did Jay West tell Katie that he wanted her out?
I think Katie heard about it, so she brought it to him, and he admitted, yes, that's what I wanted to do, but I'll change my vote to Josh because you're standing in front of me, and let's do that.
I just wrote that, like, he's so messy.
Yeah, I thought that was. We'll get there for sure, but that it got messy fast once Exile began.
So messy.
And by began, I mean once everyone was in Exile.
And then Josh lays down that, like, the threat before going out kind of thing. I've been the recipient of a threat like this, where I was in a room in my first Sequester mini with a person that was on the flop, and the last thing they said to me as they stared me in the eyes is like, "If you vote me out, I'm dragging you." And I was like, "I don't want to be the drag."
Don't do it.
So I didn't.
Yeah.
He would have dragged me.
He
And
would have dragged you.
burned me a little bit later down the road, but I understand how this threat is effective. And Josh does this to Brent, says that he's going to choose him for a battle back, because Brent is obviously in Exile with him. And yeah, basically threatened Brent about not voting him and having to vote Katie. And so,
Question for you though. Should Brent have thrown a hinky vote?
I think that would have been, I would have been equally as irritated.
But Katie's dick isn't tiny, and I would be afraid of her wrath. Brent knew that his vote was going to be exposed.
But I'd have to say that in terms of, he can be transparent with the threat.
He did not look transparent when the votes were revealed. Katie was pissed.
Well, when we saw at the end, though, it was just Brent and Josh that ended up voting for Katie.
Right. So if he had thrown a vote on...
But if I were Josh and I saw, I mean, we know how things panned out, so, like, I don't know. But if I were Josh and the person that said that they would vote for Katie and not me through a hinky vote, in the extra vote that I needed to not be the majority of votes, I would probably still take him into Exile, because I think the agreement was vote Katie.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure about. If that was the term, was to vote Katie particularly.
I think that's what I wrote down. I said I wrote threatened Brett about voting Katie.
Right. Okay, that makes sense then.
Let me just relay everybody the safety chain because I didn't talk about the last bit of that.
Yes.
So Marcelo gives it to Josh. Josh gives it to Billy. Billy gives it to Jay West. Jay West gives it to Shireen. Shireen gives it to Kaylee. Katie gives it to Brendan. Brendan gives it to Brent. Brent gives it to Muna like she wanted. And Muna exiles Spencer. Spencer gives it to Jacob. And the
Natalie and Rachel join.
Also join Spencer in Exile.
How great was Natalie's 5-second like one of my favorite confessionals of the night. I was like, yeah, it was just like breathe, taking a deep breath, letting it out, exhaling the exile.
Exhale the exile.
I'm really looking forward to next episode to see what Rachel and Natalie bring to the table. I feel like Rachel had a great start and a great end to the game, to the episode, I should say. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what else happens in there.
I mean, I don't know if they're the obvious threats right now, and so these type of players, I feel like they start picking up steam the longer that they're in the game. So happy that they're going to get the chance because there's so much flashy going on right now.
You betcha.
So, Josh calls the votes to be seen by Jay West, Katie, and Brent. It was was you surprised by any of those people being called out?
No.
Me neither.
But I mean, at the same time, I know when Katie said to Josh that it was you or me, they were both aware of that. So maybe I would have, if I was Josh, I would have, I'm assuming that he tried to get a vote of 4 to 3. So maybe the third person that he might have tried to convince or might have lied to agree that they would vote on Katie, I might want to see that instead.
I mean, probably not, but it's probably not going to happen. So I didn't write down what happened here. Can you just give me a little breakdown as to like what happened?
Okay. Josh made his decision that he was going to take Katie to the battle match. He was ready, it was her or him. Katie gave a pretty good pitch, but Jay West started opening his mouth and saying, like you want to test me or you want to challenge me, and he was being incredibly vocal.
Why didn't you say anything?
Well, Katie did call out Jay West, so she did get the ball rolling in that sense. And I do think Josh picked up on it, and then Jay West kind of put his foot in his mouth, and Josh beautifully changed the episode and threw a hinky in there, a wrench, and decided to battle Jay West.
So quiet in my life. He's just like just like letting this go on, like beside him, and just like quiet can be. He's like,
as you should be.
See me.
I was shocked that Jay West started speaking up like that, especially because of what happened to him last season. Like, he went out incredibly early, and it was for talking out. And like, yeah,
This is the exact same thing that he did.
It was he learned nothing.
Nothing. I'm like, oh my God, he outplayed himself again. So it's a Puzzle Master is the final or the battle match for this episode.
Yeah.
Wait, what I wrote down Jay West is going to target Brent. Why did I say that? If he came back, is that what he said?
I don't know. Did he mention targeting Brent?
I wrote it down, but maybe I just didn't write it down to maybe jog my memory as to what I was talking about. Anyways, we're at the Puzzle Master. It's a vertical puzzle, basically of the mask of Sequester and the word Sequester. Probably 4 was on it as well. And it was a 2-sided puzzle that kind of you pull in wooden tiles like bricks, kind of upward. And so there's a lot of smack talk going on, between these two. So it's Josh and Jay West, both from my team, guys. Like Jay West, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great puzzle. The smack talk was a little much for me. you know, I don't need to. I've never had a pussy. Well, I've never eaten a pussy sandwich. Um, like really throwing pussy at each other. I'm like, what are we? 14 years old in 2006? Like, come on. Just that language was a little off-putting for me personally.
It was surprising.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of those kind of
in
insults.
my opinion, vaginas are probably the most powerful bodily part on a human being. So I don't know why it's people are always like, "Oh, you're a pussy." It's like, what? There's nothing. Pussies are fucking indestructible. They're
Well,
really strong.
I can't remember which comedians like, yeah, like why are they talking like that? They can really take a pounding.
Well, that too, sure.
I don't know why we're here, guys. I'm
Yeah, we're
sorry. I
here.
don't know why
Sorry.
we're here.
Yeah, I do. It
But
stood out to me.
no, even with the smack talk and Jay West saying that he's really great at puzzles in the sound bites, um, Josh pulls out the W here and sends Jay West home or to the jury. And he cried and he was
I was
upset.
I was just gonna say like there was an immediate switch for me because initially I was like, oh, I'm rooting for Josh, and then as soon as Jay West lost, I felt bad.
Well, I
I
felt
felt
bad
bad for,
because
or I felt for him, I should say.
yeah, I did too. Like I cried and think he might have gotten teared
He
up
did,
too.
yeah,
The fact that like
because
he
he
had
loved.
it's an opportunity like to come back again, but the fact that he didn't learn from how he played before, like this is exactly what he did. Is he acted as though that he was going to come back no matter what, and that he wasn't afraid of going into the battle match, and then he didn't win.
Yeah, mistake, 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 mistake,
Oh.
lost.
Dana says that this elimination competition reminded her, I'm assuming it's a her. If it's not, please let me know, of Survivor, and I love it. I loved it
Yes.
too. I thought it was great. Equalizer, that puzzle. I felt bad. I didn't want Jay West to be. I didn't want any of it. All the people that were on the chopping block this episode were all my people. So I was like, no.
Yeah,
No.
I felt pretty good. I was like, oh, my draft picks are all safe. So
Were they all safety chain people?
yeah, except for Spencer. Oh, and Natalie. Natalie. So Natalie is my on my team too. So I was like, oh, everyone's okay.
I mean, I love you guys. Like, you guys are making me have a fun show to watch. I mean, all right, Dan. I'm sorry. LOL. I will remember this from now on. So, do you have anything else to say about this first episode? Loved it.
Yeah, I loved every second. I'm probably gonna watch some other recaps about the episode. I might watch it again. We'll see. It's a busy week for me.
Rob is a podcast. I believe Taryn's doing it. I'm not sure if he's doing it with the guest or not. I haven't seen it at all yet. I saw another person that did it right after the episode that I'll definitely watch. And I guess I'll look at Podquester too and see what they have to say about people within the community. So I will be doing as much research as possible. So we'll be a little bit more on the ball coming weeks as we get to know these players and learn more about their history and like how they played before. We'll definitely pepper in knowledge that we gain outside of this game.
Yeah.
So what do you think though about when we should come back?
Let's put a pause on that.
Okay.
It's a mystery for now.
Mystery for now. So yes, it's going to be random. That I mean, it's hopefully going to be Sunday, but it might be Tuesday again. You know what I mean? I'm not sure yet.
Who knows?
What works the best? I'm going to try to make it do something where we can be consistent for the rest of the season. So whatever choice that is made will be, I would hope, permanent unless something in life comes up that changes that. But we'll try to be consistent.
Yeah.
Do you have any last thoughts? I'm sorry, Jess. I really wanted you to do well. I drafted you because I wanted you to do well, and I was hoping, rooting for you. So I'm sorry that you didn't get to have your redemption season, but still know though you haven't been voted out yet.
I was gonna say it's not over until it's literally over. So
wait, oh yeah, there might be a battle back. You think?
Yeah, I think there will be one.
Oh,
Dolores!
Hi, Dolores. How are you? Yes,
okay.
I mean, we came on late. You came on late. But we are doing the little wrap up right now. So we will be back next week, either Sunday, Monday or Tuesday, probably.
At some point in the future.
Then moving forward, so you'll know when you will be able to catch us. And also with the challenge, we'll be consistently going right after the episode. So that will be Wednesday evening, I believe. I'm not sure what time the episode comes on, but we'll go on right after live. So you will know that for sure, Dolores. But thank you for popping in and saying hello. We will be happy to have you next week too.
You betcha.
Well, this has been great. I like figuring out how to talk about this, new show to cover. Like it's like different language, different players, different structure. So it's a little bit new to figure out how to maneuver, but I'm enjoying this challenge.
You better believe it.
Yes, yes, yes. Laura says, I will catch it on the rerun. Keep doing the great work. Thank you, Dolores. Big hearts to you. And thank you, Dana, Joseph, Supertan, Phil, and Will for chit-chatting with us. Obviously, we love when you guys can come with the answers that we do not know right away. It makes it really easy to not have to scroll through, Reddit. On this. So thank you so much for your participation and your insight and thoughts and support in general. We love you for it. So anything you want to share with the people? I know I have something I want to share with the people.
Oh, share, please.
Well, I mean, it's something that you could share as well. But Joseph and I are going to be playing. We started today in a 100-day power struggle. What happened to 85? Big Brother Cheesecake 5. It's an online reality game that we both played together, season 3. And I ended up winning. Joseph came in third. And we are going back to play the All-Star season. We started this today. So if you would like to follow along, I will put the link of Big Brother Cheesecake All-Stars in the bio. And then Reality Realness has some correspondents that will be taking over this platform to cover the week-to-weeks of this house. So Nick, some of you guys may know because he's done a few Big Brother podcasts with me on this channel. And Lindsay, both of them who played in season 4 and both did very well. Lindsay came in second and Nick came in third. They will be taking care of Reality Realness with 3 S's for Sequester, for Big Brother Cheesecake 5 All-Stars. So if you guys want to follow along to see how we do, please do. You will see some familiar faces. So if you watch The Bachelorette or Love Island with me, Brazil is going to be part of this, who I met through this community of Big Brother Cheesecake. And then also you may know Jonathan, who does with me The Masked Singer. So we all met pretty much playing this game, and now we're all going to be put to the test to see if we can do well again. So if you want to join us along with us and comment and be, engage in this game that we decided to subject ourselves to, please do. We would love to have you be watching along while we suffer along. Just kidding.
Suffer.
So if you haven't done so already, please, I would ask you to subscribe. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. And we can't do it without you. Please like this video if you like what we have to say. If you have an opinion on what day you think you would like to see the Sequester,
keep it to yourself.
Let it know, and we'll take it into consideration as to trying to figure out when you might want this content. Is Sunday right after the episode? There's too many things to watch, and then you forget. When would be the best for you? We want to accommodate you guys because we do it to hang out and chat with you guys. So if you want to give us your input there, we are willing to listen to it, of course. And lastly, please ring that bell. So if we decide to go off regular time, you will be notified when we go live, which we do pretty much every day. I'll go live with something to talk to you guys about. So please be involved in that by ringing that bell. All right. That was a mouthful. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Love y'all.